Okay, let's get into this. We are diving deep into the life and, well, the legendary career of Billy Joel.
Yeah, we've got some great source material here. It's excerpts from a script called The Piano Man, a deep dive into Billy Joel's legendary career.
And our goal here, basically to take your sources and, pull out the real core of it, the moments that really defined him, the struggles maybe you didn't expect, the huge wins, and, well, why his music still connects so much today.
Exactly. Think of it like this. We're going to guide you through the most compelling bits of the story in these pages. We'll find those surprising details, those key insights, without getting totally bogged down.
Right. So get comfortable. Let's explore the journey of the piano man himself. So where does it all kick off? He's born in the Bronx in 1949, but he really grew up out on Long Island.
And there's that interesting background piece, right? His father was a classical pianist. Even though his dad left the family when Billy was pretty young, that classical thing was there early on.
Hmm. Must have planted a seed somehow. He started piano lessons, yeah. But the sources mentioned he wasn't, like, thrilled with the discipline at first. Typical kid stuff, maybe.
Could be. But then came that lightning bolt moment, like for so many others, right? Seeing the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, that just changed everything.
Oh, absolutely. That was it.
Yeah.
Hooked on rock and roll. The whole trajectory shifts.
So he dives right in, bands in his teens, the Echoes, then the Hassles. And it's kind of interesting, the material, the Hassles actually put out an album, Psychedelic Rock.
It just completely bombed a flop.
Yeah, a psychedelic flop. And after that, there was this heavy duo called Attila. The source description is, let's say, direct, not his peak.
Huh. Okay, message received.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not the right path there.
So all these early attempts, these, things that didn't quite work out, they sort of pushed him towards going solo.
And that leads to his first solo album, Cold Spring Harbor, in '71. But the story behind that album is something else.
Oh, this is wild. A massive mastering mistake. Seriously. It sped up the tape so his voice sounds way, way higher, like Alvin and the Chipmunks singing his songs.
Can you imagine? Your debut album? Talk about a hurdle right out of the gate. It's almost
A
unbelievable.
really tough start, but he kept going, moved out to LA, started playing piano bars. The sources paint this as a real grinding period for him.
But this is the pivot point, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's during that grind, playing in this place called the Executive Room, that he's absorbing everything, and he writes the song,
The song that changed it all.
Piano Man.
Exactly.
That's-
Piano Man comes out in '73, and it's very much drawn from life, right? Semi-autobiographical, straight from those LA piano bar nights you mentioned.
Yeah, the harmonica, the storytelling about the characters. It's the Billy Joel song. But here's a kicker from the sources, and it's kind of surprising.
What's that?
Despite being his signature tune, it only got to number 25 on the charts.
Number 25. It's amazing, really. Shows you chart position isn't the whole story when it comes to impact.
Definitely not. His real massive breakthrough, though, that came a bit later, in 1977, The Stranger.
Ah, The Stranger. Yeah, the sources pretty much call that his masterpiece, his magnum opus. And you listen to it, and it's like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. This is the album that made him a superstar.
Oh, for sure. The tracks on there are just, iconic now. Scenes from an Italian restaurant, Just the Way You Are, Moving Out.
The bedrock Billy Joel, essential stuff.
And you gotta love the story about Just the Way You Are.
Yeah.
Apparently his own band thought it was, like, too corny, too cheesy.
Right. They almost didn't put it on the album. The sources mention that specifically.
It's incredible. And then, boom, wins Grammys for Song and Record of the Year. Just goes to show, sometimes you gotta trust your instincts.
Absolutely. A huge lesson there. Then he follows that up pretty quick with 52nd Street in '78. That one hit number one, his first number one album.
And he kept mixing it up. Glass Houses in 1980, he went for more of a rock edge. Gave us stuff like You May Be Right.
Which just highlights his range, doesn't it? He wasn't just going to do The Stranger over and over. He could shift gears, try different sounds, and still land these huge defining hits. Remarkable versatility.
So let's talk about the songwriting itself. What is it that makes his stuff stand out? The material we looked at really hammers home his storytelling, writing about, real people.
Yeah, that feels absolutely central. He's not writing about abstract concepts all the time. He's writing about the folks in the bar in Piano Man, or the blue-collar struggles in Allentown, even history itself in We Didn't Start the Fire. Grounded stuff.
And musically, he's such a mix master. The sources talk about how he just pulls everything in rock, jazz, classical, doo-wop even, and blends it together.
You can really hear it sometimes, can't you? Like the sources point out the Beethoven melody woven into This Night, or how Uptown Girl has that definite Four Seasons vibe.
Totally. He wears his influences on his sleeve sometimes, it makes it his own. And then there are the lyrics that feel super personal. You get a sense of vulnerability.
Definitely. Like Vienna, which the sources say came from advice his father gave him, or And So It Goes, which feels really raw about his own relationships and struggles.
That willingness to just put it out there, the good and the bad,
Yeah.
I think that's a huge part of why people connect so deeply with the songs. It feels honest.
Uh-huh. That vulnerability is key.
Now, obviously, a career this long is not all smooth sailing.
Mm-hmm.
Those sources touch on personal challenges, too. 3 divorces, struggles with depression mentioned.
Yeah, life happens.
Yeah.
Even to superstars. And then there's that really candid Rolling Stone interview, the one where he basically just trashed some of his own album.
Oh, yeah. He called The Bridge, the '86 album, awful, straight up.
Which is pretty blunt, coming from the artist himself. Shows a certain level of, I don't know, intense self-criticism.
But what's interesting is how fans feel totally different, right? The sources specifically mention A Matter of Trust from that same album, The Bridge, as being a huge fan favorite. Like, people love that song.
It's a great example, isn't it? How the creator sees it versus how the audience receives it. Totally different perspectives sometimes.
The material also talks about his decision, back in '93, to stop writing pop music, to focus on classical composition instead.
Which was a big shift, but thankfully he didn't vanish. He came back to touring, and I mean, that Madison Square Garden residence.
Oh, legendary. Just absolutely legendary. Seems like it's going to go on forever.
So when you pull back and look at everything, the whole career, the journey, why does he still matter so much? What's the core of his legacy, according to these sources?
I think a huge word that comes up is authenticity.
Mhm.
He just wasn't chasing trends. He wrote what he felt, what he observed, and that genuineness just connects. It resonates.
Yeah, totally. And you can't ignore the sheer musical talent. The sources use words like insane virtuoso for his piano playing. They basically say, if you doubt it, just go watch him live.
Right. The proof is right there on the stage. And I mean, the success is undeniable. One of the biggest selling artists of all time, over 160 million records. It's staggering.
Huge numbers. But there's also this sense of him being grounded. That story about his Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction, where he just kind of shrugs and says, I'm not going to thank everybody I ever met.
Classic Billy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just feels perfectly him.
And the sources highlight some fan favorites too, like Scenes from an Italian Restaurant calling it a saga, and Miami 2017, described as apocalyptic yet weirdly hopeful, and kind of fitting for now, maybe.
Yeah, perfect for our times, they said.
Yeah.
It really shows the breadth of what he could do, the different moods and stories.
So for you listening, thinking about all this, what does his career really tell us? What's the takeaway from his approach, his authenticity, his way of tapping into the human experience?
So we've walked through the sources on Billy Joel's career, from those early bumps like the Chipmunk album incident to the absolute peak with The Stranger, right up to his legendary status now.
And I think understanding his method, writing about the world and people around him, mixing all those musical flavors, but always keeping that personal, honest voice, it really shows why the music lasts.
Yeah. And maybe the last thing to chew on for you is this. You have an artist who faced some pretty public failures early on, who was even hard on his own successes later. But he stuck to his way of doing things, writing from his own experience, even when he was just, the guy playing piano in a bar. He found something authentic there that resonated massively later. What does that journey maybe tell us about sticking to your guns, about authenticity in art, or heck, even in life?
It's a pretty powerful thought, isn't it? About finding your voice and trusting it.
Definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.